everyone. So I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts I've had. Traveling is always a really beautiful and amazing source of insight. And one of the things that I'm here in Taiwan. Oh gosh, I think I'm in Taiwan. I'm in Taipei. I'm in Taiwan. I really don't know where I am. I'm at an airport. It's, here you go. And I gotta figure this out because at this point I know that between Taipei and Taiwan, I think one's a city and one's a country. Anyways, I'm just here for a couple hours and then I go on to Incheon. And I do understand where I'm going at that point. But one of the cool things about flying on an airplane at whatever 35,000 feet is gives you perspective. And that sounds silly or so obvious to say, but I think a lot of us we lose track of perspective more often than we think we do. And I was up there and it'd been dark for a really long time, I think because we were chasing the sun. So I think we decided, it was like a 12-hour flight, and it started off, it'd been dark for about 5 hours, and it stayed dark for almost the entire flight. And then at the last hour and a half, we had dawn coming up behind us. So whatever that means, lots and lots of hours of darkness. And I'm really grateful that I never watch those movies. People just don't watch the movies. My son Jordan and I did that when he was 17, and we were flying from Iceland through India to Bangkok, and we made the mistake of watching the movies, and 3 or 4 movies later you're landing somewhere with the worst jet lag, and it was, so I have learned, don't watch the movies. I slept and slept and slept and slept and slept, and so I'm feeling great. The best way to deal with jet lag, and I'm speaking from experience, multiple times I've dealt with this. You don't need melatonin. You don't need to try to be like, oh, I'll stay up late and I'll get up early and I'll trick my body. And no. All your body needs is as much sleep as you can cram into it. No matter what, massive quantities of sleep leading up to your trip, sleep every second you can, and that just gives your body all the nourishment that it needs, and it will do the adjusting really well. You don't want to fatigue yourself trying to trick yourself into a different time. Okay, anyways, traveler hack, there you go. So we're up there, and finally we had enough light that we could actually see below us. We could see all the clouds, and it just always reminds me that when you look down on the clouds, it doesn't matter if you're over Asia or if you're over Canada or if you're over Europe. It doesn't matter where you are. The clouds look the same. I mean, they're clouds. And there's just this feeling I get of, really, we're all the same people all over this planet. We have these beautiful, awesome, rich, amazing cultural differences. I mean, that is like the best thing about humans traveling throughout history, was that you showed up somewhere and everything was done differently. But we're human, and we're really the same when it comes to the core of what matters to us. So I was, I stopped here next to this, because this is an obvious view. Yes, you can tell I'm at an airport, and this is the only view you're really gonna get because it's so cloudy. There's nothing else to see. But I stopped here because there was a family that had been waiting in Seattle with me, and they had this cute little girl, probably about 3.5 years old, very precocious, and she was in the best mood. She's running around, and her mom and her older sister were like taking care of her, and just instead of looking like stressed out, irritated parents when their kid dashed off, they would laugh and smile, and the little girl would laugh and smile, and everything was really happy. And then in the middle of the flight, after about 6 hours, I'm like, I'm gonna go use the restroom. And the restroom happened to be right in front of the family with the little girl. And it is like the middle of the night for everyone, probably Seattle time. I think it was maybe at that point 7 a.m., but the plane's completely dark. And we've all been on the plane since 1:50 in the morning. And this little girl is just she is a firecracker. And she's rolling around on top of her mom, and her mom is splayed out over like the 2 seats that are theirs, and the little girl's crawling all over her, and the mom's smiling. And now I actually traveled really well with my kids, but not everyone does. But this family blew my mind, and it reminded me of 2 things. One, it did remind me of something I've often noticed. Like if you go to a Catholic service in a big city in English, and you hang out and you watch how the parishioners, or whatever they're called, how they hang out, how they engage with their children, how they dress, how they behave, you'll see white American Catholic culture. Go to the same church on another day when they have their Spanish Mass, and the place will be packed to the walls, standing room only, children everywhere, people dressed in the most beautiful, elegant clothing. The smell of cologne is everywhere in the air. And the children, I've always noticed, are completely and deeply loved and tolerated. They're rolling around on the pews, and everyone's just looking down on them with this benevolent, patient joy. And that was the same thing I was witnessing here. And the thing is that there are some cultures let themselves enjoy the childishness of children more than others. But that's like one point. The other point was that just as I felt as we were flying in, I was like, the clouds are the same. It's the same planet. It's the same species. People are different, but only in these little ways. We're really all the same on this planet. And I wonder what God must think when God's looking down on this planet, and it's like, you see from a distance, you see the similarities maybe a little bit better, and then you get in closer and closer, and it's sort of like wedge issues. You can see people and think, oh, they're like me, they're my family, they're my friends, and then you find one little topic to disagree on, and suddenly you're like, oh no, we're different. You're 98% the same, 2% different when it comes to ideology. Why let the 2% differences get in the way? I have watched countless friends and families, or friendships and family relationships, be crushed by these little differences. That's an interesting thing we need to think about. Who chooses that? But it really hit me that people love their children. It doesn't matter if it's China, it doesn't matter where it is in the world. That's another beautiful thing we all hold in common, is that we all deeply adore our children for all the biological survival reasons and for all sorts of other reasons that I may not be able to properly explain. Anyway, so traveling is really cool, and I've long thought everyone should do it. One idea I have, call me crazy. See, here's my my non-conservative side showing itself. I think the best thing in the world would be for all American teenagers in their junior year of high school to be offered the opportunity to travel abroad and spend a year in another country. Because when I leave America and I go to another country, you would think that when I show up, I'm going to learn a lot about that country. And I will. So let's take when I went to Mexico for the first time. I did a road trip through Mexico with my kids down to Nuevo Vallarta, which is next to Puerto Vallarta, which is where my sister-in-law was getting married. And so there I was for like 3 weeks, driving through Mexico from Nogales all the way down to the southern edge along the Pacific, and then all the way back up again. And you would think I would learn a lot about Mexico. I did learn some things about Mexico, but I remember what I really learned was a lot about America, and specifically where I grew up, the West Coast. Because in all those 3 weeks, all I ever saw were McDonald's, Mexican restaurants, and there's these Senor Frog things in like the big towns that like college kids party at. So what was really interesting is also everywhere I looked, it was just Mexicans. And sometimes you see some white people, but basically Mexicans. And it drove home to me how diverse America is, that I might take it for granted because I've always grown up surrounded by tons of people who are completely different than me. When I lived on the coast of California, you know, lots of Filipinos, lots of Asians of different types. You know, so it's like in America, I'm so used to the melting pot, and then you put me in a country and I look around and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're all Mexicans. That taught me about my country and how I can go to an Indian restaurant today and a Persian restaurant tomorrow and a Japanese restaurant the next day and so on and so forth. And down there in Mexico, you just don't have that type of diversity, except maybe in the big cities. So anyways, travel is awesome, and I think that it teaches us a lot about where we live. It makes us better Americans to get out of America and to go be other places. Okie doke. So that's me, and I'm feeling great, slept a ton, discovered a really cool movie. It's a Korean movie. It was on the plane. At the very end when I finally couldn't sleep anymore, I think I slept for like 10 hours and I just could not stay asleep. And I was looking around for something, and it's called, I think, Love in the Big City. And it's a Korean movie. Great acting, great topics, really beautiful. And okie doke. At some point, I'll find a way to share this. I have to find some Wi-Fi because I don't yet have a SIM card. And so I don't have any internet access through my cell. I would just have to find Wi-Fi's. So I hope you're all doing great. It is 5:58 in the morning here in somewhere. Taiwan, Taipei. Like I said, I don't really know where I am. It's just a layover. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.